Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to see about listening skills. So earlier, like we had gone through about communications and how we can deliver in a better manner and how to perform well in delivering our speech. Now we are going to see the other side where we are going to listen and receive uh, the discussion that are happening and analyze them. So this is what we are going to see today. One doubt we'll be having is why do we need a course like this to listen? Already we are listening and we are getting information. So, what is that we have to learn in this? So, we have to realize that there's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is somewhat a passive mode where we just observe what is happening and get the words. But listening is more an active activity where we focus on what is being told, we understand what is said, and we get that. So this listening skill is very essential, and we have to put effort into master that skill. So by doing that, we'll be able to get a better relationship, and we'll be building things both at personal end and at official front. So we'll be able to understand better about the people. So what are the barriers in listening and how to overcome those difficulties? So we can broadly classify the difficulties into internal and external. Internal is something that is happening within us. Uh, Foremost thing is like we might be preoccupied with something, like we will be thinking about certain things, and our mind won't be listening. So that gives a lot of difficulty in understanding what the other person is trying to say. So if we have this kind of difficulty, what we can do is we can practice some mindfulness technique which helps us to focus on the present and be in the present. So this activity will help us, and we can ask questions to the speaker so that we relate to what they are saying and understand what they are telling. So these are some of the techniques we can use when we are preoccupied. If our emotional state is not normal and calm, then again, like there will be difficulty in listening. So for example, if you are stressed or anxiety, or you are very angry, even when we are very excited, so in those situations, like we won't be able to focus, and we'll be having difficulty in listening. So, in order to handle this kind of situation, the foremost thing we need to have is to get some kind of awareness of what is happening within us. Like, wo- are we in a stress mode or are we in angry mode? So, if we can analyze and understand that, that helps us to do something useful. Like, for example, if we understand that our emotion is not stable and that is fluctuating, in that situation, what we can do is we can see if we can postpone this particular discussion and conversation. If we can do that, we can postpone to some other time where we'll be able to listen better. If we can't postpone, like we can at least like control ourselves and focus on the current moment. Try to be there and ask questions and things like that, so that we'll be able to control our emotions. There are situations where we'll be biased, or we'll be taking some assumptions like before even the conversation begins. So we'll assume that, okay, this is what the person is going to say, and I don't have to listen. So if that kind of situation arises, like this bias will put a lot of blind spot in listening to others person. So in such cases, it is better to remove this kind of bias and assumptions and then listen. So what we can do is again, to understand that we have some bias and to give full attention to the person and listen to what the person is saying instead of coming up with our own bias. One technique that will help us is to get feedback, like to from known contacts, like if we can see if we act upon bias and if our conversation and listening skill is impaired due to these bias, like we can get some feedback and work on them. What if a topic is boring, or if it is we feel that it is irrelevant? So in such cases, like what we can do is, foremost thing is to understand why we are here at that particular moment. Why we are in a situation, we have to listen to that particular topic. We can introspect on that aspect and try to understand if that topic is relevant to us or not. So we can try to connect ourselves, like what is the connection between us and the topic, and see if we can make it interesting topic. If we find that it is a irrelevant topic and it is out of our focus, then we can politely ask the speaker, if possible, to take a diversion towards a interesting topic that we'll be hooked on. So this helps us to navigate away from a boring topic. Some of us, like we feel that we want to speak and the listening part gets lower priority. So in such cases, like we can uh, understand that our nature and practice listening as an exercise. Like we can do more of a listening exercise and realize the importance of the realization. For example, when we listen, we'll be able to gain more details and understand the other person's perspective in a much deeper manner, so that we'll be able to give a stronger points and powerful points. Without this understanding, without understanding the other person's perspective and the views, we'll be having a shallow conversation. Whatever we are telling will be won't have that power and impact. So this is the advantage of listening and then speaking. So if we realize that, then we'll be able to realize more, even though we want to speak, uh, we feel like speaking. So it is better to first listen and then to speak. One more aspect related to the previous topic is for us to control and be in control when we are in a conversation. So this happens, and the way to overcome this difficulty is to have a feedback from people and see if we are in a dominating position and how they take it, how they are feeling when we are controlling the conversation. So we can get a feedback and realize that by losing this kind of control, we will be able to be a better speaker. So that kind of relationship will help us. Some of the external distractions are first the environmental elements, like there could be a lot of noise and many distractions. For example, we may live near a factory or near a railway track or something like that. So if such things happen, there'll be a lot of noise and there'll be distractions. So we can see if we can reduce that distraction, even if we are not able to fully switch off. So some of the methods to reduce is like, if we can soundproof the room, that will be helpful. Otherwise, like if we can use a headphone and reduce the noise, that will also be a useful technique. Some of us have a habit of multitasking, like we want to do many things at the same time. For example, when we are at a phone, we may also be typing something, email or something like that. So this kind of multitasking we do, we think that it saves a lot of time, but actually it doesn't. maybe it looks like it saves a lot of time, but in reality, what happens is we are prone to make many mistakes when you are doing a multitasking. So when you are doing many things at the same time, there is mistakes happen at different levels. So rectifying these mistakes takes a lot of time than uh, the time that the multitasking actually saves. So instead of doing multitasking, we can focus on one thing at a time, complete it, and then move on to the next. That helps us to be focused and get things done in a faster manner. One thing we can do in this thing is to know how much time we have and plan accordingly, prepare a to-do list, and follow the list and get things done. That will help us in achieving things in a better manner. We do have a habit of interrupting others and saying something in the middle. So one thing what happens is when the speaker is speaking and we interrupt, that flow gets disturbed. Whatever the speaker wants to say, that doesn't go well, and we that the conversation is not effective. So we think like we want to add something so that the speaker understands this and then continues. But in reality, what happens is if there is interruption, the speaker would continue from where they left and try to complete whatever they have to say. So it is better for us to wait for our turn and say what we want to say after the speaker completes. That is a very polite way of handling the situation, and the conversation goes on beautifully. Finally, like we have the cultural and social norms where the speaker might be from a environment or a culture where it is given importance to speaking rather than listening. So by nature, the social nature, like it comes up with such a way that someone who is speaking is more important than someone who is listening. So in that kind of environment, they will be more of trying to give a speech than listening. So we have to understand different cultures and their norms so that we'll be able to fit in properly. So we have to know our own culture if we are from such a background and try to handle our situation properly. There are many types of listening. One we earlier saw, like the active listening, where we give full attention and try to understand what is happening. And the passive listening is something where we just hear the words and we don't actually process the speech. So this is active and passive listening. There is also a critical listening where we give a lot of importance to what is being said, so that we don't miss out any information. So we give importance to the accuracy and the validity. For example, if you are seated in an exam hall and there is an instruction being given on how to uh, perform the exam and what to do, and instructions that have been given orally, our attention will be fully on the exam so that we don't miss out. Our attention will be fully on the speaker so that we don't miss out any information, and we gather the details carefully. So that is example of critical listening. There are also other types like empathetic listening, where we try to feel the speaker, like we try to understand their perspective and see how the speaker is feeling. Some of the benefits of good listening skills is we build a trust. So whenever someone listens, I feel that I'm being heard, and the person had understood whatever I have to say. The person may take a decision on favor of me or against me. That doesn't matter. But at least I have a satisfaction of being heard. But if the person is cutting across and not listening and not allowing me to speak, then I feel bad. Like I feel that I didn't speak my point, and the person did not listen properly. So that kind of things happen. So if we are a good listener, we'll be building good relationships. Our understanding improves because we will be having a active listening mode, and we'll be listening fully. We'll be understanding whatever the speaker says. So in that sense, we'll understand the content in a better manner. Any conflict between people can be resolved by carefully listening to each side, and they exchange their perspective and views. With that, they can easily come up with the solution. What is active listening? So, active listening is something like where we fully focus on the other person's speech. We listen to what they are saying, and we understand what the speaker is trying to say. When we are actively listening, our body language will reflect on that. Like we'll be focused on the person, or eye contact will be there. We'll be nodding at what the person says. We'll be leaning forward towards the person. So these kind of things happens when there's a good listening mode. We may repeat whatever they are saying. We will say summarize what they are telling, and so that our understanding becomes better. We'll be asking open-ended questions like how to understand more about the speaker, and ask them to explain in detail so that we understand better. So these are some of the aspects, like when we are in active mode, we'll be doing this. How do we improve our listening skills? One way is to be in present. You can practice mindfulness technique, and make sure that we reduce all the distractions, and focus on whatever we are listening. Uh, we can allow the speaker to speak and complete their sentence instead of cutting across, so that we don't interrupt and we get the full view of the speaker. We can develop empathy, as we saw earlier, to understand the perspectives and emotions of the speaker, so that we are well informed on what the speaker is trying to convey. Note taking is a good technique where we jot down whatever is being said, so that we'll be able to recollect in a much better manner. Role playing is a technique where we can practice listening skills with our peers and try to understand where we are in terms of listening. So, this helps us to improve our listening skills. There are some questionnaires available in the net, like where we can check how much listening skills we apply, and where we stand and how to improve on this. So, we can find various things about our own skills. We can get feedback from peers and supervisors, so that we understand their perspective and correct ourselves. There are activities we can do in group, like for example, there's a Chinese whisperers game, where we can one person starts telling a story to a nearby person without others hearing it. So this whispering is kept on transferring till the last person hears, and the last person tell the story aloud. So with this, we will be able to understand how well we listen to each other, and able to pass on the information correctly. So this activity helps us to uh, understand our barriers, and also we get a good input on how to overcome these difficulties. If we have any questions, we can discuss now.